Of course, not everybody agrees with his politics or what he has said or done since he was first elected president over 8 years ago and continues to serve now. So I think that people look at it in different ways. There are always going to be protests. There are always going to be people that disagree. But of course, we also need to engage. He is the leader of the most powerful country in the world with strong links to Scotland and now strong links to the northeast of Scotland. And we'd be crazy if we didn't seek to capitalise on that.
As Washington editor Katie Balls writes in today's Sunday Times, in Scotland over the next 2 days, Donald Trump will, like a medieval king, hold audiences with various people. Today, it's the turn of European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Tomorrow, it's Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Scottish First Minister John Swinney. Well, Shadow Scotland Secretary Andrew Bowie is in Scotland for the visit and he joins me now. Good morning, Andrew. Oh, hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
hi there. Sorry, there was a little delay on the line. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Andrew, are you going to have your own sit down with Donald Trump?
Oh, look, I've been lucky enough to have been invited to the opening of his golf course, which is just a few miles up the road from where I'm speaking to you right now in Aberdeenshire. Whether or not I have my own private sit down with the president, I think is probably not very likely, given how busy he is going to be when he's up here with the various other representatives of both the Scottish and UK government, and indeed today down in Turnberry with the European Commission president. But we welcome them all here to Aberdeenshire when they get here. It's a beautiful part of the world, and I hope that they're afforded an equally warm welcome from the people of Aberdeenshire when they do arrive.
Well, speaking about that warm welcome, Andrew, hundreds of protesters did gather yesterday in Edinburgh and Aberdeen to voice their opposition to Donald Trump's visit. What do your constituents think about politicians, some could say cozying up a little bit to Donald Trump?
Firstly, I think we should remember that this began very much as a private visit. He's over here opening the second course at his many estate, as I said, just up the road. And to that, people around here are very welcoming of the investment that's been brought, the huge number of visitors that have come to the area to spend their money, to spend their time, to enjoy the stunning scenery that we have and the hospitality that we have to offer here and play some great golf. So people are welcoming of that. Of course, not everybody agrees with his politics or what he has said or done since he was first elected president over 8 years ago and continues to serve now. So I think that people look at it in different ways. There are always going to be protests. There are always going to be people that disagree. But of course, we also need to engage. He is the leader of the most powerful country in the world with strong links to Scotland and now strong links to the northeast of Scotland. And we'd be crazy if we didn't seek to capitalise on that.
You can't deny, can you, that Keir Starmer has been able to ensure the UK is a little bit less hit hard than other countries by Trump's tariffs. Is it fair to say, and would you agree, that the PM strategy has paid off? He's clearly got a good relationship with the US president and it's worked in the national interest, hasn't it?
Obviously, we are very pleased that we've got a better trading situation with the United States of America than most other countries in the world. And I suppose you do have to pay credit to the Prime Minister, his negotiators, the team over in Washington, D.C. for what they were able to achieve in negotiating that. I do think, however, that more could have been done. We could have gone further and faster. For example, the Prime Minister claimed that he protected jobs at Jaguar Land Rover. It was just last week that they announced we're going to be laying off people at Jaguar Land Rover. So not all of what the Prime Minister claims to have negotiated has actually been borne through in reality. But yes, we are in a better situation than most of the countries in the world. And that's probably as a result of the special relationship, the long and enduring relationship the United Kingdom and the United States have going back to pre-World War II. And indeed, the fact that this president in particular seems to have a very strong affiliation to the United Kingdom and to Scotland in particular. And as I said, that's one other reason why we should be very much capitalising on his visit here this week.
Speaking of people having a good time in Scotland, Andrew, are you aware that two Jewish comedians have been banned from performing at the Edinburgh Festival over safety concerns that have been raised by the bar staff? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that actually. But if that is indeed true, that's a shocking state of affairs. Everybody should be welcome to this
Mm.
country, regardless of their faith, regardless of where they come from, to perform at the Edinburgh Festival or anywhere else for that matter. We should be an open and welcoming country to anybody, regardless of their politics, regardless of their religion, and regardless of where they come from. And the very fact that that is happening in the United Kingdom in 2025, I think, speaks very ill to the state of affairs in this country and actually demonstrates that what we were warning of a few years ago in terms of the rise of anti-Semitism in this country is real and is something that we should be dealing with and combating at the very highest level.
Yes, Rachel Krieger was meant to perform her show Ultimate Jewish Mother next month, and another Jewish comedian, Philip Simon, has also been banned. They've both been performing at the Edinburgh Festival for years. So yes, that does speak of an issue at the
Yeah, that really
festival
does.
this year.
That's dreadfully disappointing to hear, and as I said, demonstrates what we all know to be true, that there is a rise in anti-Semitism in this country, and that's something that we really need to work hard to combat.
Also in today's Sunday Times, Andrew, the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper writes about how she intends to fix Britain's asylum system. In a column, she says it's been broken for far too long, and she accuses the previous Conservative government, your government, of opening hundreds of asylum hotels, such as the one in Epping, which has of course been such a flashpoint this week. What's your response to that?
I think it's a bit rich. I mean, they came in over a year ago now, claiming they were going to smash the gangs. It was months ago. Now they claim we're going to close the asylum hotels. What we've seen is an increase in people crossing into this country illegally. And as far as I can see, none of the asylum hotels have been closed. I've got one in my own constituency, less than a mile from where I'm speaking to you right now. So I'm fully aware of the issues that arise as a result of having these asylum hotels. Of course, the scenes that we're seeing in Epping and elsewhere are disturbing, and there's no defence for antisocial behaviour, or indeed some of the behaviour that we've been seeing around these hotels by the far right and indeed the far left. And these individuals should be treated with respect, regardless of how they came into this country. But what's quite obvious is this government does not have a strategy for dealing with the tens of thousands of people who are entering this country illegally. And indeed, since they came into power, and they're scrapping of the Rwanda scheme, which of course people acknowledge was not a perfect scheme, but which was weeks away from coming into operation when they did come into
There's
office
no
and
evidence,
were
is there,
to
Andrew,
offer
that
deterrent.
it would have ever got over the line.
But it would, but it would,
You
it
had an
did get
election
across. It
before it had
well,
to be
it
tested.
it did get across the line. We spent a year, and in fact more than a year, fighting with Labour in the House of Commons, with Labour and Liberal Democrat members of the House of Lords, with activist left-wing lawyers. We finally got it across the line, and we were within weeks of that first plane taking off and acting as that deterrent. Now we'll never know whether or not that was going to work or not, but that was a deterrent, and Labour removed that and didn't replace it with anything at all. There was no deterrent as a part of their strategy to combat the boats. There's no fear coming into this country that you're going to be deported. We do not know any more detail on what that agreement that the French president and the prime minister came to a few months ago will actually result in, or whether or not the European Commission will actually even allow it to be followed through. So we're in no man's land right now when it comes to a policy to deal with those illegal entrance into the country. We do need to stop the boats. We absolutely need to deal with the pernicious trade in human life that's carrying on across the continent of Europe and indeed into Africa. That's going to take a massive effort, but it was a huge mistake, I think, of Labour when one of their first acts to get rid of that deterrent factor that we had worked so hard to bring in last year.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Andrew. That's Shadow Scotland Secretary Andrew Bowie.